Can Britain still defend itself? Welcome to Mark and Pete. Britain still possesses nuclear weapons, but does it have enough of any other functioning equipment? Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
At the expense of defence. When you have issues with your national defence, where military protection is under a false pretense, and it has reduced to the size of a poor picket fence, learning Russian today may make a lot of sense. Yes, are we really that vulnerable as a nation? Could we possibly be invaded by Russia? Who knows? Well, according to Armed Forces Minister and, of course, the Defence Secretary, well, maybe not. But some have said, yes, we should now increase our spending. Well, Keir Starmer is under crisis yet again because, of course, he has lost his Armed Forces Minister and his Defence Secretary in very short space of time. Mr. Pete, I say yet again the government is in crisis. John Healey has resigned, Al Carnes has resigned. People with very solid experience, when they resign, should we be worried?
Yes, I think we do need to be worried. I think look, the Bible has a lot to say about defense of the realm. It is one of those things that government, or in the case of the Bible, is talking about the nation of Israel, specifically is talking about the king and the priests. So, but our government and their government, one of the main things it was meant to do, you would say the main thing really, was to defend the people, to protect them.
Correct.
Here's an example of advice in the Bible. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman wakes, but in vain. Now, by the Lord, we have God in charge of the government. And, unless you've got God thinking things through, having a strategy, and they follow the Lord for a strategy. And I do think that Britain would do well to pray and plan and pray and plan. But the planning part of it is important, the praying as well. But in this sense, we are talking about praying, in other words, having a strategy, because things have moved on. I mean, I would say it's not, you asking, should we be scared? Well, it's not that Britain is defenseless. We've got nuclear weapons. We've got an extensive intelligence service. We've got pretty advanced aircraft. We've got some good submarines, and
yeah. We've got you with your pitchfork.
We've got we've got allies, of course. But the thing is, we haven't moved on because, yes, we've got some very well trained, very skilled soldiers, exquisitely skilled soldiers, but not necessarily in the right areas. And that things have moved on. We've now got AI-controlled drones being one of the main weapons in warfare. We're not up to speed on that. And the ammunition that they would carry, well, we haven't got enough of it. So the Strategic Defence Review, I think back in 2025, was saying that the stockpiles of weapons are inadequate. So all in all, yes, we should be scared because the strategy hasn't been followed. People have been worrying about other things. Now, you can worry about, and it's good for governments to be concerned for the welfare of the people in the country. But first, you've got to stop the country being taken over by someone else. So yes, the strategy is all back to front.
Well, I completely agree. Now, what's ironic is that the government committed to a 3.5% of gross domestic product. Now, this was as they were going into winning the general election 2 years ago. And the aim of this was a measure of the size of the economy and on defence by the investment to 2035. Now, 3.5% may not seem enough. In fact, ironically, the US government had said that the UK should be spending more. Now, the details have been revealed that there have been cuts, and reports suggested Sir Keir Starmer, that's our Prime Minister at the moment, folks, as we're speaking, has said that basically all government departments to trim their capital budgets by 1%. This is essentially to sort of raise funds. But what's the key here? Because Healy, who was the former defence minister, said that we should be spending 3% slightly earlier, meaning 5 years earlier, because it takes time to create these
Yeah,
things. They don't
sure.
materialize overnight, by 2030. So the timetable was wrong. So basically, what really Healy is saying is we're under resourced, we're not on plan, and clearly, for somebody who has access to all the details, this is an issue. Now, he said that Sir Keir Starmer had spelled out the threats to the UK in recent times, including that there could be an attack by Russia, either on NATO, possibly even before 2030. So we do have allies, as you quite rightly point out, but imagine the scenario that was different. We know that Russia is fighting on the front with Ukraine, but what if they were to shift their focus? And I think that that's the key thing is that, first of all, could we even combat a battle or an invasion by Russia? And secondly, who would really come to our defense?
Yes, I mean, I said before, strategy was the wrong way around. This is a real problem about who do you ally with. Do you ally with the rest of the Anglosphere, who we have natural affinity to, with America, who is really the only viable superpower in the world at the moment? Um,
Yes.
we had a way in there. If you had more intelligent, more strategic thinking from our leaders, including the great Keir Starmer, as you say, is currently our prime minister, we would be friendly with the United States. They would be defending us, whether they were defending Europe or not. There was that natural affinity between our two countries, and yet we're not in that position because of lack of strategic thinking, a lack of diplomacy. Um, we should have a massive trade deal with the United States. The Trump administration was up for it. We should that we would therefore we'd have closer ties and be under their protection more. And then we, on top of that, we needed to have strategic thinking in terms of investment and thinking about how we defend. We should have always been keeping up with the latest technology in defence. And how will we get the money? There is. This should be a very wealthy nation, shouldn't it, Mark? I mean, you're the businessman
Well,
here. Resources, we've got loads of
yes.
resources in the North Sea and untapped coal mines. Uh, what are we doing? We're trying to save the planet by madcap green policies
Windmills.
instead of it's just a madcap. Because I was thinking of something a lot harsher, which can't be broadcast. But I mean, we're just in this ludicrous position because of all these poor decisions impact on each other. They're not in isolation. So poor energy resource decision impacts the military. The
Yes.
the weakness of our military then impacts on the fact that we didn't help for example, in the recent problems in the Strait of Hormuz. We should have been right there straight away. When we made the
Well,
decision to go there, we didn't have our aircraft carrier ready to leave, so there was no way. There's no way that we could have gone to help. Bad decision after bad decision. It needs a total rethink, the way that the
It
government
it
runs.
does need a rethink, and I'm going to go back to a point that you made, which I think is really worth expanding upon, which is it's commendable to reduce carbon footprint, but we've built a carbon world, and we have done for probably now you can argue 200 years for that matter. So cutting our ability to extract resources from the North Sea or anywhere else for that matter is rather silly because although we are trying to innovate, ironically, we're leaving ourselves vulnerable. You mentioned about the impact of, cost of energy to
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
Business generates revenue, so
yeah.
too does the consumer market. And of course, if you stifle that, where are you going to get your money to bolster your defense? Now, what's interesting as well is that I think that the principle of, traditional warfare, where you equipped people on the ground, still continues. But there
Sure.
are things that the government has shifted towards, what they describe as war fighting readiness. And there has been a shift to things like drones. We've talked about that. Possibly submarines, nuclear marines. That's been something that has been behind the scenes, I think, sort of something that is a consideration. But I also think that the cyber security or the cyber warfare, it
Yes.
plays very significantly. Now, it's not something that you hear a lot about in the media, partly because, again, it's about national defense. You don't want to disclose everything that you've got.
No.
But
No.
coming back to the key point, if we have very experienced ministers who know the military very well, and they are worried that we can't, if we were placed in a combat situation, whether it's that the warfare was either on our own shores or on our own land, or possibly somewhere else, we're not going to be equipped. That's the
No.
bit that I think that is the concern. So here's the thing: what does it take for either Sir Keir Starmer and his cabinet ministers to shift? Is it that we should be putting our focus more on bolstering our own defense, or should we really be playing in other foreign affairs, such as with Ukraine and others? Are we stretched too thinly? Because that's one of the things that is a debate in itself.
Yeah, well, there's a few points you raise there, and there isn't a simple answer. You see, it's not as simple as you should get involved in overseas affairs or that you shouldn't. Uh, it's really on a case by case basis. For example, I say we are Mark and Pete have expressed our agreement with the fact that the United States of America needed to intervene in Iran because of their development of nuclear weapons.
Yes.
We disagreed with the defense jumping into Ukraine and prolonging the Ukraine war because of some altruistic idea of the sovereignty of a nation. We thought we should have been pragmatic about it. So, the different decisions made in different scenarios, but um, the underlying strategy should be that not only are you prepared in all those ways that may not be seen that are public, like security, cyber security, and espionage, and having um, your um, your uh, your friendships with other nations shored up, and being prepared for an attack. Alongside that, your military is so obviously prepared. In fact, it looks like you've got too big a military. It's ridiculous. Means that actually people take you seriously. You're less likely to have to use it. This is
Mm.
what I don't know why this is such a problem. It's so obvious. We have nuclear weapons so that we don't have to use them. We need an obviously oversized, skilled military so that we don't have to use it in anger. Because if people are scared of you, they're not going to mess with you. So uh, the individual decisions are made whether you intervene or not. But the baseline is you have a skilled military in all areas. You, if anything, overspend on military. You certainly have one which is obviously able to deal with any attack. And then this is what America under Donald Trump has done right,
Yeah.
and it's what we could learn from that. And hopefully, the great Keir Starmer, if he stays in office for many more years, he will learn that. Or it's just possible there could be a new prime minister. Hopefully, changes will be made soon, because if they're not, we might be invaded. We might be in trouble.
Well, indeed. Well, what do you think, listeners? Do you actually feel worried? Do you think the government has neglected his defense of the realm? Either way, we certainly on Mark and Peter have some concerns, but either way, we're already preparing. And my final comment is, das Vidania.